Hello everyone and welcome back to another new episode of Epic Haunts. I'm one of your hosts, Phil, and obviously with me today again is a man with the new sexy hairstyle still, Simon.
Hi all.
Oh, he's done that, taking the mickey out of me. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick bit of news here because we've got a couple of guests tonight. Controversial, some people may say, but it's our show, so we're having who we want.
Yeah, of course we will.
And quite frankly, we'll have anybody on. We are Sweden. Is it Sweden or Switzerland? I always get confused with them. So it's one of them peaceful nations. Anyway, we're them. Yeah. I used to be Russia. And I got myself out of that one. Yeah. Anyway, so we're gonna
go on.
I just want to quickly say before we get into the show, social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. At Epic Haunts, that's simple. And obviously on YouTube as well. If you're subscribed to us on YouTube, give the video a like, comment on it, share it with your friends and family. Exactly the same with the podcast. If you're on the podcast, give us a nice review and share us out to more people. That's pretty much it. Let's get straight into this news. So the news is from Tully's Shocktoberfest, I believe.
Yes, they tweeted this morning. It is now a strictly 16 and over event. So, plain and simple, if you've got anyone who looks under 21, they will be ID'd. And they have confirmed this. They will ask you for ID for anyone who looks under 21. But if you have bought tickets for what they're saying is a minor, contact their customer service, either through Twitter or on the booking form that you bought the tickets with, because they will sort something out, whether they give you a refund or the exchange, I don't know. But they said if you have bought one for a minor, please get in contact, because it's going to be a over 16s event. So my first thoughts,
it's got to be a last minute fault. It's got to be a last minute fault, mate, because they sold tickets already.
Yeah, but it depends on what they're planning for the event. There is comments out there that saying that they think it's going to be a more intense event. I don't want to upset anybody, but I think it is to just stop a certain amount of people coming in, a generation coming in. We didn't see any causing any trouble when we were there last year, but there was reports of groups of teenagers causing a lot of fuss.
I've seen the comments online, so I thought
Tullies want to do. That's what Tullies want to do.
Right, so I've seen the comments online. There's a lot of parents who are upset who've bought tickets. I know it's getting money back, but a lot of them want the money back for all their tickets because they want it to go with their family. So it's a risk what Tullies are doing here, I think. I think they would have been better off at least having it down to 12 years old with an adult and a company adult with them. But I understand why, looking at comments, there was a lot of problems last year. The singers now were getting a lot of abuse hurled at them, all that stuff. The acts were getting hurled abuse at them from these youngsters because they're showing up on their own, because that's what they do. We was all like that when we all mouthy when we were younger, and unfortunately they spoiled it for, I'm going to say it's a small percentage, and they probably spoiled it for all the ones who actually really want to, have a good time. Well,
it's a very small percentage, but it's a big market there going to be annihilating. Not annihilated, but could they? Yeah, but could they have an idea? I say a couple of nights, 2 or 3 nights out the whole event, when they could let the younger generation with an accompanying adult. Maybe that could work. Not now I said this. No, it's either all or nothing. They can't do certain days because certain people have open tickets. Have plans. It's going to cause people. I think it's a big risk. And there'll be people who are not happy about it. So it's their choice. All we can do is see what happens. To me, whether they're going to change the event or not, we don't know. To me, it's a big risk, but it's their choice, and we'll see what happens with it. Maybe they've got an event set up for younger people, and we just don't know about it yet. Maybe. So that is pretty much all news. There's nothing going on at Halloween Horror Nights or anything, is there? No, nothing at the moment. It's dead season. But go and check out our episode before this. Me and Simon actually put a great list of houses together that we designed for Halloween Horror Nights. Go and check that old episode out. So our guest today, we're going to bring them in a minute. It's going to be Nick and Craig from that podcast network, is it? Yes, that's the one, that podcast network, yeah. So they're going to come in. Basically, we're going to talk about British people who go over just for weekends to do Halloween Horror Nights. Can it be done? Well, apparently they've done it quite a few times. So we're just going to find out and learn about it. So
Let's get them in, I suppose.
Being on another person's podcast, to tell you.
I'm just going to start, guys. I'm not even going to do introductions properly. You can quite clearly hear the two podcast gods are on the show right now. We've got Craig, Lucas, and Nick. Nick, what's the surname you going by now? I don't want to get it wrong.
You don't have to go. You don't have to go by that. Like just Nick's. Treat me like Madonna or Cher. Just one name. That'll do. I don't even spell that. I don't even spell that right either.
Fucking for real.
No. He's an American singer, songwriter, producer. I'm not him.
Who?
For real.
I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Anyway, right, let's get back on track, boys. We got you on here because you've done a couple of weekends to Halloween Horror Nights to do your scare events, and try to get any insider tips or mistakes not to make.
Quite frankly, I didn't explain to me.
Yeah,
I've done four.
Because I've done it
up to date.
I know three of the four of us on this podcast now have actually done the weekend. I've done it once, but you've done it twice. And 3 times, Craig?
Was he any good?
4.
Nick, you've done it twice, have you?
I have, yes.
Yeah. So it was an experience for me, but let's find someone else's experience because you don't want to listen to me rabbiting on all the time. So when was the first
Halloween? What are we up to now in the Halloween Horror Night world? Is it
31? Is this?
So
32, isn't it now?
No, 32.
32.
31 was yeah.
But it should be 33, shouldn't it?
Yeah, in theory.
Yeah.
Because he did a half of one, didn't he, and didn't move it up on.
And I'm going to upset everyone because 31 was shit.
Well, yeah, shit.
Was that a hot take? I think a lot. Well, there will always be people that will say every Halloween Horror Night is amazing, but realists will admit that they're not all perfect, are they?
I'm at my 10-year anniversary now for my first one. Kerry got it me for my 40th. I flew in with Stuart on Thomas Cook or Thomas Cook, depends where you come from. We stayed on iDrive and we got a car thrown in. It was all done on Expedia for 1,100 quid.
Are you sure it's 10 years? Because surely
yeah, 23.
You're 13.
What?
Yeah, no. Did you? So you went in 2013 because the 40th would have been in December.
Yeah. She got it me early.
Right.
She got me birthday present early. Yeah.
Okay. So that was that your first Halloween Horror Nights as well, or was that...
Yeah, definitely. Then my second one was 25, again with Stuart. I can't remember who we flew with, but we stayed in Cabana Bay at that one. I think on the first one we stayed one night in one of the posh ones. I can't remember which one it was. It wasn't. It was the cheapest posh one.
That'll be Royal Pacific then.
Sorry, yeah. It's a reminder of, Grandpa at The Simpsons. When it just goes on.
Yeah. And then the next one I did was with Nicholas. I think that was 27, was it?
Yes.
Yes, it was 27. Yes.
And that was Cabana Bay again.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one was 29. And that was when we did our meet-up and stuff like that. And that was Cabana Bay again.
No,
it wasn't. It was the shit one.
It's not. It was Aventura.
Aventura it's a good hotel if you like that kind of thing.
If you like,
I think
unpainted concrete.
No,
it's like a car park.
John Sell's going mental now.
I'm going mental.
It's a modern hotel. It's a modern hotel. I mean, I like of those two because
you're going to say big butts, but you cannot lie.
Well, I can. I do sometimes. Anyway. Of those two, like of Aventura and Cabana Bay, I do have a preference, but that's just because I prefer that kind of retro 50s throwback that Cabana Bay is. I think it's just got a bit more personality to it.
Yeah.
Aventura was completely fine.
In all seriousness, Aventura is a fantastic hotel. Fantastic food court. fantastic bar area, fantastic pool area. If you don't want to go in the pool,
I
if you just want to drink.
Yeah, I think we stayed there that year because we priced up Cabana Bay and Aventura, and Aventura had been open for about 3 months, I think, 4 months when we first went, and it came in slightly cheaper than Cabana Bay. So we thought, well, we'll give it a go because, you know, money saving
2019
tips.
is when it opened because I was there as well. 2019.
Yeah. So what you're trying to say is that hotel the reason we had a pandemic?
Might be.
I'm just saying that
there was something in the concrete.
There's coincidences. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Winky dinks.
So let's move on to the Halloween Horror Nights of the, because you did 2 of them, didn't you, as well, Nick? That was a 27 and 29.
Yeah.
Have you done any more other ones other than them 2?
The light's gone.
Craig's light's gone.
Craig disappeared.
Craig, the invisible man. Unfortunately, you can still hear him, so he hasn't gone completely. We had actually booked flights in 2020 to go for Halloween Horror Nights 30, and obviously we know how that ended up because of what was happening around actual Halloween Horror Nights 30 when it took place properly. 2021. The world was still kind of like a little bit fluxy, wasn't it? It was a little bit unclear. Could we go? Could we not go? So I just decided rather than go through that whole rigmarole, because trying to get the money back for flights and stuff was just a ball ache. So I didn't even bother trying to go. As much as I wanted to go to 30, it just seemed like it was too much effort to go. And for various reasons, Craig can speak for himself, but he's got no intention of doing this with me going forward. Because basically we just hate each other. That's what it is. I was going to let Craig decide that, but actually it's just because we actually hate the sight of each other. We don't want to spend any more time with each other, and this is the last time you'll ever hear us on a podcast together. Because
it's like
that's the end
Lennon
of the
and
relationship.
McCartney at the end of Abbey Road, never recorded together again.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for using this podcast platform as the end of a long relationship.
To be fair, we just didn't want to waste our own podcast time.
Yeah.
So when this opportunity came up, it seemed to make the most sense.
Yeah.
No, Craig, I mean, you've got other stuff going on, like with family and stuff, and you've just said you've lost a bit of drive for it, and also because of.
It's mainly the cost implications at the moment. I've got better stuff to spend my money on.
It is expensive right now.
Our Eve's in university, and the residential cost is $7,000. I've got up to $10,000 for next year. So I've got to find that sort of money. So stuff's got to take a back burner. I think I would do another. The plan we had, or the plan I had, certainly, whether Nick will agree with me or not, I was trying to drive the cost down even further. The cancelled holiday. I didn't even want to buy park tickets for that trip, if you remember, Nick. Mm-hmm. I literally wanted to just do express passes and Halloween Horror Night, and just go and do other stuff. Just go and explore iDrive and stuff like that.
Because previous guest Joe, when he went last year, he did 7 days, did he? Phil? I think it was 7 days, and he didn't have any park tickets.
You know what my brain's like? I can't remember yesterday.
He got the $25 ticket so he could get in at 3:00, and he used that to do the staying screen.
Right.
Scream.
And it worked. Screen. It worked for him, and he was staying further down. He was staying down towards SeaWorld. So obviously it does work. So,
I mean, over the years, so when we say we've gone for a weekend, shut up, Siri. You would fly out on the Thursday and fly back on the Monday evening.
Yeah.
I think one year, Nick.
Weekend.
Yeah, I think didn't we do a Friday to a Monday the first time?
So
Nick?
the first time we did Friday, Monday. The second time, because we just decided it was a little bit rushed, we went Thursday, Monday instead.
Yeah,
just had an extra night, really, because of course when you normally fly in to Orlando, you're getting there in the evening. So the first time we went, when we did the Friday, Monday, you, I think, had got in about 3, and I think I'd got in about 4:30 or 5 because you waited at the airport for me to land.
Yeah.
And by the time you leave the airport, get to your hotel, check in, drop your bags off in the room, freshen up a little bit, we were debating what to do. We had tickets for that night. It was like, well, should we just go for a little bit? And we did. So I think we got into the park at like 9, 10, something like that. And just stayed. I mean, that was a night they had a power cut, so half the houses got wiped out.
Was that 29?
Yeah. That was 27.
That was 27.
It was the tent houses had a power cut, didn't they?
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, so actually at that time, my auntie was home for the weekend as well. She flew over on the Thursday, flew back Monday.
Oh, wow.
We were staying at where was I staying? Oh, Bonnet Creek, where I've got my timeshare.
Oh, fantastic!
I think we stayed at Royal Pacific for one night on that Saturday night, just so we got express passes for the weekend as well.
Smart way of doing it. Because we got in on a Friday, that really gave us Saturday all day, Sunday all day, and then I think we'd already kind of planned for Monday to go to Disney Springs to get presents and stuff for the family. So we was only going to the parks for 2 days, the actual park, and then we had obviously 3 nights worth of Halloween Horror Nights, and it was just about enough, but it was rushed. It was rushed. We got all the houses done at least twice that year, but you did feel like you couldn't stop. You couldn't relax because
it was literally
you want to get
house
as much
after
done.
house after house after house.
Yeah. And also we would. So I think the Saturday we hit the park as soon as we got up, and because of jet lag and everything, I think we got up at like 5 a.m. So we got into the parks early, park admission, and we was there I think to about 2 or 3, and then we went back to change, freshen up, and then come back for Stay and Scream. So we were pretty much in the park from 7ish in the morning, with about an hour and a half, 2 hour break, and then we were at Halloween Horror Nights till about 11:30, 12.
So
it's a long.
My knees are hurting just thinking about that now.
I'm very fit, so I was fine. But obviously, old man Craig is a different story. So the lot of tears that day. Although, of course, that was the same night that we met you, Simon. So, or should I say, you met Craig, and I just stood there like a lemon.
Yeah,
because I didn't say who I was.
I didn't think you spoke for the first 10 minutes, did you? Because me and Craig wouldn't shut up. So
it's amazing, isn't it? How the turntables. Because now I just talk over everyone. But yeah, in real life, very different. But yeah, I think we kind of come back from that weekend thinking, it was good. We had a good time, but it just needed to be slightly longer. So the second time we added in that extra day, and it meant that we were able to just stretch things out a little bit further and not be so rushed.
Yeah. And I believe the second time you had express passes as well for that weekend as well, didn't you?
Yeah, on the Sunday night, didn't we? We bought them for the Sunday night.
Yeah, we had them for one night.
I think the problem we found using express passes is the express pass should be used to enable you to come out the parks, to have a couple of hours having a meal and a sit down and a bevy, and then go back in at about 9 o'clock. And then you could still, with express, you'll still do all the houses that night. But what we were doing was doing the Stay and Scream, using all the top tips that people like yourself used to, Phil and Simon use, of getting to the back of the park and hitting the houses at the back. So we were doing 5 houses without the need for express. And then when you finally do start to use express, you've got every intention of going back and doing them first 5 houses again. But as Nick said, you're getting on to 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at that point, and you've done every house, but you're absolutely shattered. So we give our express away, didn't we, to Luke and his mate?
No, you know what? You know what? That was we had. So you've got it slightly mixed up. We had express the first weekend we went, and we had it on the Sunday night because we didn't know how busy Sunday night was going to be, and it was going to be the last night we were going to be there. So we wanted to make sure we could do everything we wanted. The second time we had express on the Friday, because that was the only night Mr. D was there. So we got express on the Friday, and because of doing Stay and Scream, and because of doing a few houses on the first night we got there, we actually barely used the express.
Yeah, but on the Sunday night with the Luke, when we were walking out and we bumped into Luke and we gave them the tickets away because we hadn't used them all. No. And that's part of my rationale for if I do go back, and I think I will go back. I think there will be a knockout announcement where I just simply can't not go back. But that was part of me thinking of, I'll just get express and I'll just go in at about 8 o'clock at night when everybody's in the queues, when everyone's calmed down a little bit. I think as well, one of the biggest disappointments for me for Halloween Horror Nights is that it starts in the daylight.
Yeah.
And you're going into sometimes a pitch black, unbelievably themed area. And you miss half of it because your eyes can't adjust in time.
Yeah. That's unfortunately the problem with it starting in September, because I don't know if you've done it. I had done October before, and it's dark at 5:45. So as the event starts, it's dark, and it's a completely different experience.
Yeah, I did Halloween Horror Nights 20, and that we did that towards the end.
Oh, so you've done 3, Nicholas?
I've done 3 Halloween Horror Nights. That was part of my honeymoon, and in fact, that's why I've been able to go on these weekends.
Yeah, 20 was all. There was only a couple of IPs on 20, weren't there?
There was
20 Years of Fear.
20 was it was
Fear.
Jack. Yeah,
it was
Big
Fear.
Jack
He had the guy in the stilts with the big X's over
the big dick.
Yeah.
What's it called? Capital of Bamber is now. The big giant
and Jack and Chance were doing meet and greets on the bridge by Springfield, and they had quite a heavy presence. But because oh, was it really? Yeah, because my wife didn't want to didn't enjoy it. Well, it wasn't. She really wanted to go, but she found it too scary. So we did like 2 houses, I think, maybe 1 house. Did Bill and Ted, did like scare zones, and just ate and drank for the rest of the night and went on some rides. But because of that, she didn't mind me going to Halloween Horror Nights for the weekend because it's something she wouldn't be going to want to do herself. So it was easy for me to escape to do that. But the thing is, I mean, Craig said about trying to save money by not buying part tickets, but you buy express passes. Whilst I'd be the other way around. But the difference between me and Craig is that I don't go on, regular trips to Orlando with my family. So when I go for Halloween Horror Nights, I'm just going for, a few days. And, the first time and the second time there was 2 years apart. So there was new attractions that opened since then, whatever. But if you was going regularly to Orlando, then I could understand with Craig. And, if we're not going to do it this year, but if we were going to do that weekend this year, well, Craig's already going in the summer. So why does Craig need to buy Universal Park tickets to do the stuff that he's already done, a month before or whatever?
Because you would have to try and cram in like maybe a week's holiday in 3 to 4 days, because you want to do everything at Universal. Everything at Island, you want to try and get it all done in 3 days.
You had to do that with Disney as well, didn't you? With Star Wars, you had to cram that in quickly.
We took a day, and I mean, our plan for that day was to do Galaxy's Edge. Now it was very easy at the time because they only had 1 attraction open.
It was so new, wasn't it? Because when I was there in that August, it was pass holder event only, so it was all fenced off, and the security were chasing us. And then when we
You
went
missed
into
it.
September, you were able to get in.
Yeah, you missed it by about 10 days, I think.
Yeah,
like its
yeah.
official opening, and then we went towards the end of September. So
Good.
it'd been open for about a month, I think, officially. And yeah, we just bought Palaver as it was trying to buy a ticket in the UK to get access to one day to a Disney park, but we managed to do it. But yeah, and I mean, to be fair, that was fine, because had the plan been to try and do Hollywood Studios, that would have been a different story. But our plan was to do Galaxy's Edge and, you know, try and book a few fast passes, and then we can do those attractions as well. And that's how we played it. Like, there was no point trying to do a whole park in a day when you're doing stuff like Halloween Horror Nights. It's just too much. And, yeah.
So let's go back to what I picked up before, what you said, Craig, about something that would bring you back to Halloween Horror Nights. What would be
Rob Zombie's
either
Scare Zone,
franchise, the IP, the original? What would get you to buy that plane ticket and buy that Halloween Horror Nights ticket again for that weekend? What would it be?
I think I'm all about the Gremlins.
Gremlins.
I'm all about Halloween, the original, or Halloween 3. I'm all about Michael Myers. Michael Myers was my favourite serial killer growing up. Basically.
We've all got one of those, right? We've all got a favourite serial killer.
Yeah, I've got a
Big fan of
Michael
the Yorkshire
Myers
Ripper,
Halloween a calendar. Michael Myers in various kills. It's like the Mick Lynch calendar I've got on my wall. But I would literally, for them two, I would severely consider it. If it come this year, I can't do it. I literally physically, unless I start selling my arsehole on OnlyFans, I can't do it. If there's anyone out there, I will send you my arsehole.
For a charge.
Yeah, I mean, in a perverse way, some of the music stuff passes me by. You know, I like Billie Eilish. I'm not into it, but I've listened to her 2 albums. The first one on repeat for about 6 months, and I've never listened to it again. The fella who was on last year, I tried to listen to him. It was just shit.
Your shit.
Rob Zombie. We walked through that one, didn't we, in 2019? Yeah. It was all right, but that was a scare zone, wasn't it? It wasn't at a house.
Yeah, it was a scare zone.
It's a couple of props to try and represent some of the songs, and that was really it.
Yeah. You know, it was all right. I would love, you know, I'd love to have seen the Alice Cooper stuff. In a weird way, if you could shoehorn like an Elvis into it, I don't know, or the Beatles, something like that. You can't because the music isn't horror. You know what I mean? But if I don't know, that's about me. Ghostbusters 2. I fucking love Ghostbusters 2.
Grandpa Simpson.
Honestly. So I've already.
So we've got for Craig. We've got Gremlins, Ghostbusters 2.
So anything.
So Nick, same question to you. What would get you to get that ticket and get you back over to Halloween Horror Nights?
I would be more excited if they announced a Gremlins 2, the new batch house than Gremlins. I love Gremlins 2, the new batch. I think it's a cracking film. I really like, I really liked Megan. It's, I don't know if you guys have managed to see that yet.
Yeah, I've seen it.
I just think it's so much fun. I mean, my wife is trying to avoid watching it because she thinks it's going to be too scary. And I'm like, it's absolutely not scary at all. Like, my daughter could probably watch it, who just watched all 4 seasons of Stranger Things. Like,
yeah,
it's pretty much a kid's film. Yeah. But it's really funny. I like the satire in it. And I think it would make a really good house. I'm not that bothered by Chucky. I know a lot of people love Chucky. I like the character more than I like the franchise. Like, franchise is very kind of hit and miss. And I've not watched the series. I've heard the series is supposed to be pretty good, but Chucky alone wouldn't convince me to go. But absolutely that. Maybe The Last of Us. I know there's a lot of talk about that in a moment because it's the big new show on HBO.
Yeah, well, it was highly rumoured for last year, but obviously the release date got pushed back.
But wasn't it based also? Was it based on the game or the series?
It's supposed to be based on the series, but the series got pushed back till obviously a few weeks ago. It was supposed to have actually been out at the beginning of September, I think, and they pushed it back for some reason. So that's possibly the reason why Last of Us, and that's possibly a good. It's a highly likely it might be there this year. They've already signed the contracts and just pushed it back.
Because I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes.
I've not started watching the show yet, but I played through both games, and really I like the games, and what little I've seen of the show looks in key with that. And but when you play the game, I think it's even more tense because you are controlling someone. When you're watching a TV show, it can still be scary and frightening, but in a game, it's your actions that affect what happens. So I think it would make a cracking house. There's not a whole lot that would drag me down other than those 2 things. I think. So
would it have to be like an accumulation of a few things to get you to go back then, rather than just one particular franchise?
I think so for me, yeah.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I do like the original ideas as well. I do like the original houses, and quite often they're the ones that are the biggest surprise of the year because you read the descriptions, you've got nothing to base it on other than what they say it's going to be like. So you might start, theaters of the mind might start trying to think about what it's going to look like or how they're going to execute it, but then you actually go and experience it, and it's a different experience by doing it. So I think it would be a combination of what they announced, and if they throw in a couple of IPs, that I'd be really excited about. I mean, Beetlejuice was the one regret. I've seen videos. It doesn't look as good as I'd hoped it would do, either the pandemic version or the post-pandemic version. Like, both of them seemed a little bit lacking. But that would have got me out to Halloween Horror Nights had we been in a different position at the time. That was a regret for me to miss out on. So anything, I'm a big 80s, 90s kind of horror-y kind of person. So anything from any kind of retro stuff would probably convince me to go back.
I think the Ash versus Evil Dead was done really well, and I watched the 2 seasons of that, and I've started the Chucky one, and I suspect is the Chucky stuff based on the series, not the films.
It is and it isn't. You need to know the back end of the story.
Oh, right,
spoiler.
Okay.
I know it's been out a while now, but it is a spoiler. You need to know the back ends of like Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky to try and.
I agree with that, but you can watch the series without watching it.
You can watch it without it, but if you know the story from Seed of Chucky and Bride of Chucky, it makes sense in the series, especially season 2. Anyway,
the Halloween Horror Nights announcement was Chucky as opposed to Child's Play, and I guess the reason for that is that Universal don't own the IP for Child's Play. They do own the IP for Chucky. So it makes sense to tie it in. And also as well, it's good cross promotion for the series, right? Because if you've got a series that is on, multiple channels or networks that you own, it's just good corporate synergy. So it makes sense that they're leading with Chucky. And
like I said, last year they had the booth at Halloween Horror Nights with the food. They also had the photo op, and that stayed up as well all the way through to I think middle of November after Halloween Horror Nights had finished. So
I'll tell you what I watched last October on the run up to Halloween, right? And me and Nick were going to talk about it on Ego, weren't we? But we never got round to it. So I watched Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. Then I watched The Howling, which I'd never seen. These are all stuff I've never seen, right? I watched The Omen and the reboot, Phantasm, Pet Sematary, Hellraiser, In the Mouth of Madness. Can't remember that one. Omen 2.
In the Mouth of Madness. That sounds like Pornhub.
Yeah. That's me with me nan. Omen 3. Hellraiser 2, Hellbound, and Friday the 13th of 2009 reboot. And I think any of them would be bloody brilliant in Halloween Horror Nights. Whether they've been there or not in the past, I don't know.
They've kind of done Freddy, the newer version, with Freddy versus Jason, but that's really it.
Yeah, we've seen that. I've seen that. That was a cracking one.
First time I've actually noticed when they used TVs, it actually worked.
Yeah, it was a good house. So, it was cracking.
Anything from you, Phil? For any questions you can think of?
No, I've enjoyed that. I haven't had to say anything today. I've just let them go on. I've loved this.
I mean,
out of the 3 events you did, Nick, and then I'll go to Nick with this first, and then I'll go to Craig. Out of the 3 events that you did, 20, 27, and 29, which one was your overall favourite? If you can whittle them down to your favourite one.
Yeah, I would say 27, because of I think there was more houses in 27 that I really enjoyed.
That's actually quite fitted.
Oh, there you go.
I've got the blinky
27, and it still 29 were. Yeah, mine from 29 still works actually. There was some really good IP original houses. What was the one in the not the swamp, but the sunken boat?
Deep Waters, was it?
Deep Waters, yeah. I love that. Like I can still picture that facade now as you walked into it. Just brilliant. The American Horror Stories house that year was pretty good. There was some creative scares in there. And The Shining, I thought, was a really good house.
Yeah. So glad we had. So glad we had that version of the lift scene than what the Hollywood had.
And also, as well, of course, that was one of the final Bill and Ted. So that was the last year.
No, the final Bill and Ted.
Liked it.
There's only one show worse than that, and it's at Hello Scream.
I can't vouch. I can't vouch for that. But,
just go on YouTube and watch it, and you'll understand. It is absolutely shocking.
What's it called again?
Monster Stomp.
Oh God, yeah.
And it feels like it's stomped on your brain after you've watched it.
Rubbish.
I think
the Americans love it.
I think if you're doing a weekend or a long weekend, there's definitely a price point to suit every palate. So. In 2000, when I went 10 years ago with Stuart, like I say, it was 1,100 quid for the 2 of us. Park tickets were on top of that. Halloween Horror Nights was on top of that. But just to get there was 1,100. And there was a car thrown in, which was very important because we were terrified about getting to and from the parks because we were on iDrive. We thought we were going to get dry bummed or something. I don't know. But then we had to pay for parking and stuff. So the next time, there's a trade-off then when you stay on property because you've got the transportation, you can walk, you've got the boats, you've got the buses, you're coming back late at night. So the prices have gone up every time we've stayed. And I think the last time it was, me and Nick have different memories of it, but you go in halves on a room with someone, you've got your own flight. I want to say maybe 800 or 900 quid per person, as opposed to £1,100 for 2 people.
It was the hotel last time. So when we saw Aventura, it was £530.
Yeah. So
about
obviously
was split in 2.
260.
And my flight was £350.
Yeah,
I think I paid about £450. So
what we'll do, we'll hold you on that thought. We'll come back to that question I came to in a second. So
and why is that? Because I'm too tight to pay for Zoom.
Yeah. So quick commercial break and we'll be straight back.
Welcome to Epic Haunts. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Epic Haunts. Also follow Phil and Simon on YouTube. Phil, Epic Phil, Simon at Simon and Julie. Now, let's get back to the show.
Intervention then.
Right. Sorry, guys, we are back. And do you know what? I just had a quick look. You know, how much did you pay for your hotel for? Was it 4 nights?
Yeah, 4 nights, $530.
So, for example, right now, Surfside, what is the cheapest hotel? I'm saying 5 nights this year, 14th of September I've gone for 5 nights for 2 adults. For a standard room, it's £612. The jump in price is...
It's,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's not too bad.
obviously it's
But-
more things have gone up.
I don't know.
I mean,
but that's weird because you can get Aventura for 597.
Yeah, and that's what we found. I mean, we went, I want to say we booked with Expedia. I think it was either Expedia or Bookings. That's why I know because I have looked at the price recently. But when we looked on there, one hotel was slightly cheap. I think Cabana Bay was slightly cheaper on one website, but was more expensive on the other. But it was still, out of the two, like Aventura was still cheapest overall, which is why we went with it.
I think what happens with Surfside and Dockside is the longer you stay, the cheaper it gets. Why Aventura is generally going to be cheaper for a few nights.
Right. Yeah, it could well be. I thought it might have been because it was a new hotel and they were trying to entice people to stay. But I mean, I would say between, in terms of like their style quality and everything like that, Aventura and Cabana Bay are obviously much of a muchness. It's just the theming that changes. The rooms were of a similar size. We lucked out when we was at Cabana Bay because we got a volcano view room.
Ooh, nice.
But that wasn't, we booked it. That was just what we were allocating when we got there. So that's obviously one advantage you can have at Cabana, but you're not guaranteed with that. The thing is though, and that was another reason why we wanted to stay a little bit longer, was because we had to cram so much into that small window. We did nothing in the hotel. Like I think, did we even drink in the bar at Cabana Bay? I don't think we did.
No,
Whilst Aventura, we did.
They weren't doing the theming back then either, were they? At Cabana Bay and that for the bars.
No. Oh, there was no. So when we was at Cabana Bay, I don't think there was even like the kind of like Halloween Horror Nights experience thing they do.
Yeah.
Where they put up a photo locale or something. So. No, there was nothing. I think that might have been the year. I think it was the year after because it was Stranger Things. The first Stranger Things they started to do stuff for.
The two funny stories from the Cabana Bay the first year with Nick was the first night I'm having a shower and literally I'm having a shower and it's just filling up. The bath's just filling up. It's just blocked.
I think I've heard the story before.
And I went in and I couldn't do it. And then Nick comes out with, I think he got one of the stirrers or something off the coffee and put it down and pulled out what can only be described as the back of a silverback out of the plug hole. It was 2 foot long. Yeah. It was fucking, it was your ponytail. It was horrific. And then on the last night, Nick went downstairs for the shit and I went upstairs for the shit, if you remember, and I laid King Kong's dong. I laid this fucking cable like you wouldn't believe, and then I went and hid behind the door. It was one of them where you didn't have to wipe, cautionary wipe, no evidence, but there's this thing sticking out the water. So I goes and hides behind the toilet door and I'm laughing to myself. Well, Nick, being wired the way Nick is, comes into the bedroom and just starts doing Nick things, and I'm thinking he's going to come looking for me. He's got to come looking for me, and he's going to see that, and it's going to kill him. I could have stood there for 2 hours before he fucking come into that room that night. In the end, I had to start laughing my head off and tell him basically, come and look at this, because he's putting his packing away. Yeah. Wasn't it? Wasn't it, Nick? Wasn't it?
I was only talking about it with my wife the other day.
Wow.
It's a legendary, and mainly because my son also produced quite a large log recently. But I mean, in body size comparison, it was probably a comparable size because obviously my son's a lot smaller than Craig is. But I mean, I've never seen a human produce something like Craig did that night in the toilet, and I can only put it down to the many Corona Ritas we had on the way. But that was why we both, needed to go to the loo because we had a load of Corona Reese's, and I can't remember what we was eating, but we was eating something in Bubba Gumps.
You only can feel it leaving you. It was like that.
Soul cleansing.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when I speak to people about Halloween Horror Nights, when you tell them you've gone, or you explain what it is, people always say, well, it's really expensive to do this. And I think really what us talking about these weekends is that if you really want to do Halloween Horror Nights and you don't have a huge budget, you can do this and get a really good experience. And because most people will go to Universal for a week, maybe. If you're going for the first time, you might book a week at Universal, maybe a week at Disney, or 2 weeks at Disney. And I don't think realistically, as much, and I love Universal, but I don't think it's a park that you really need to have that much time for, unless you're going in the summer where the queues are really big, or you're staying at a hotel where you can't take advantage of express passes, so obviously quite expensive to buy by themselves. But going away for the weekend. So yeah, so what Craig was talking about, the last time we went, about £530, £525 for the hotel, then our flights, so £350, £450, something around that kind of figure. Then the park tickets. Now it worked out. We looked at different ways of doing it, but it still worked out cheaper to buy the 14-day tickets from the UK for Universal than it was to buy tickets for the duration that we was out there for. So not by much. Yeah, not by much. Not by much. Maybe £50 or something, but £50 saved is £50 saved, right? And I upgraded that at the end of the holiday to an annual pass. Of course, didn't realize next year was going to have a pandemic, but there you go. And I mean, that upgrade from the 14-day ticket to an annual pass, the lowest tier, I think cost me about, it was either $30 or $40. It was something stupid like that. So, I mean, the thing is, if you, let's say £200 for the park tickets, I think the Rush of Fear was about
129.
Okay.
Well, in 2019, it was 109, and it's now about 129.
Okay.
It's gone up $20 over the last 2-3 years.
All right. So if you add those, so say £200, just to round it up. So £200 for the theme park tickets, £130 for the Halloween Horror Night tickets that will get you entry into at least the Thursday, Friday, and Sunday. Of if you are going those weekends where you can use that ticket. Plus, half your hotel and your flights, that's under £1,000 for the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, you got to have food, but I never eat much food when I go out in the States anyway, because portion sizes are normally like large enough that I might have 1 or 2 meals a day. I won't have 3 meals. I might get a little snack or something, but I don't generally have breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, if you want to put it into comparison, it's like Alton Towers during Scarefest, which is one of the UK's biggest theme parks, and it's got supposedly one of the biggest events, which it hasn't, but they think they do. Right. You're looking at three and a half, maybe 250, well, at least £300 to £350 a night to stay on site.
Wow.
Right. So if you stay for Friday and Saturday, there's £700 just for that. Then you've got your tickets on top. You're probably looking at, I'd say, £800 for 2 people.
Yeah, I get what Simon means here, because I was talking about coming to Alton Towers this year.
Very expensive, because you get your tickets for the park, then you've got to pay for the houses on top, which is only $22 for the 4 houses, well, 3 houses, but it's still £50 to get in.
Yeah.
So if you think about £1,000 for a weekend, or £800 for 2 days at Alton Towers, I know what I will be choosing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a different experience, right? I mean, the one thing about, Halloween Horror Nights is the fact that, half the people complain it's too busy, and the other half.
Oh, it was last year, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it was the year the world was, almost allowed en masse to return. But it's either too busy or it's not scary enough. That seems to be the 2 common complaints of Halloween Horror Nights. At the end of the day, what Universal managed to do over the years of harnessing these events year after year after year is they have found the sweet spot. They have found a price that works, that gets enough people through those doors and then some. They're able to justify being able to appeal to such a wide audience by the IPs that they acquire, and how they host that event. You know, you'll have franchises like, the last time I went, it was House of a Thousand Corpses, right? That is a very adult film, right? That's a hard R or
a very niche film as well.
Yeah,
very niche. It's
but
got a niche market.
So the thing is, so that appeals to more hardcore horror fans, as well as, you know, people that like more kind of gory or horror films than something like Ghostbusters or Stranger Things. But, you know, and we've talked about this before on our own podcast. You know, the reason for having things like The Weekend or Billie Eilish, which we all know about that, but it then appeals to a different demographic. You know, the one thing Stranger Things did for Universal, you know, when they had the first Stranger Things, is it encouraged people who had sat on the fence or people that never heard of the event before suddenly go, I need to go to this. You know, Ryan was one of those people.
I went to The Weekend in 2018 because of Stranger Things.
Yeah. So the Walking Dead would have done the same as well for a lot of people.
Exactly. So they're smart with the IPs.
I'm still a fan of The Walking Dead. I'd still have The Walking Dead back. Why wouldn't you? Zombies, for God's sake.
It's The Last of Us is better.
25's house is a bit, but 22 was good when they had literally the whole park was walkers everywhere. That was quite fun.
I think was that 23 as well? The whole there
was
zones.
22. There was no safe zones, and walkers everywhere. And 23 was no safe zones. You weren't safe except unless you was in the toilet.
Okay,
I enjoyed that because literally, if you know Universal, as you come out where Today Cafe is, there's some toilets just around the corner. Julie went in and then some scare actors just piled around the bathrooms. Wow. Waiting for people to come out, and I would just it was like 20, 30 of us just stood around just waiting because no one was going in because all the scare actors just stood in front, and as people coming out of the bathroom, they were just getting hit left, right, and centre by about 50 scare actors, and Julie was one of them, and I was in stitches on the floor. It was great.
In all fairness, Julie, you can scare her with anything, mate. I've been in events with Julie, and if you ever go into a house with Julie, you have to let her lead. If she goes the right way, because Julie was very good at going the wrong way in the houses somehow. But
well, we did that we actually did that in Alton Towers. It was one you actually put your hand on your shoulder of the person in front of you, and Julie was the lead. We went around the house twice. We were supposed to have gone left, and she went to a curtain, turned right, and took us a full loop all the way back round to the very beginning.
That is Craig. Like Craig, he doesn't get lost in the houses, but he's the most, which I find hysterical. My big thing, because of like, as Craig will tell you how my brain's wired. I don't like Halloween Horror Nights. I hate going into every house I go into. I hate it. The first time round, once I've gone through the house and I've gone, okay, I now know what I'm expecting, then I'm cool. But the first time going into a house, I just absolutely hate it. I literally drag myself through there.
Catchphrase came from?
Exactly. It was that night, the first time going through that house, where I've just forgotten it now. Thank you. Yeah. It's but then once I've done it, it's fine. But so I always try and get Craig to lead, but Craig's an even bigger scary cat than me. Even on multiple goes around a house, he'll still be exactly the same. But I do think that they've cornered the market. They're doing really well. But the thing is, and I think I have this conversation a lot with people about Orlando holidays in general, because I belong to like a lot of Disneyland Paris Facebook groups, and you always get people compare Disney World to Disneyland Paris, and they'll tell you how expensive Disneyland Paris is to Orlando, and you're like, how have you made that happen?
There's no comparison.
And it's like, they'll be like, oh well, you know, I priced up the Art Marvel Hotel for 6 nights, and you know, in Disney World, I booked you know, a villa, an Airbnb in, you know, Kissimmee or something. You know, it's not the same thing. So, you know, people often talk about how expensive Orlando holidays are, and of course they can. I mean, any holiday can be as cheap or as expensive as you make it, but if you are literally wanting to go for Halloween Horror Nights, you can do everything you want in 3 or 4 nights. If you are prepared, I wouldn't even say you need to do Stay and Scream every night, but I would say if at least on 2 of your nights in the park you do Stay and Scream as well, you wouldn't even need Express Pass. If you want to do what Craig said and kind of like go in a bit later and not have to like do all of that and wait till it all gets darker, then Express Pass is a good thing, and it's an additional cost, but I don't think they're unreasonably priced.
No. Well, speaking about that, but going in later on, Phil did this last year. If you haven't got Express, sometimes they do actually offer Express at about 11,
it's about
11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So
and it's
that
half
could
price
be another option. Yeah.
Right.
What did you pay? Was it $60?
Mate, you're asking me.
Yeah,
he slept.
I think it was $60, and that got you express passes for the rest of the night, and it was up until 2 o'clock. So you still had 3 hours of an express pass.
I did all the big houses within an hour or 2. All the big IPs.
There was always that option. It's not guaranteed at Halloween Horror Nights, but it is an option.
Well, no, it depends on how busy the night is. I mean, you know, there are nights you go in there and they say express passes sold out. There's other nights where people will be queuing up for express passes. So I guess it just depends on how busy that night's been. But that's the other thing, Phil, that you said there. Like, yeah, you did that in an hour or 2. Well, that's probably because, you know, the houses aren't on top of each other. You know, you have to, you know, come out of one house and then make your way to another one. And, you know, sometimes that might take you 10 minutes. Sometimes that might make 20 minutes, you know.
Well, I'm not using Express. I also use the app and look at the time of the houses. There's one house, one side of the park, but saying like 20 minutes. I am going over to that house. I'm walking all the way, and I'll walk all the way back again. I don't go in a circle. I go where the lowest number is.
And that's it's using when you haven't got much time. It's stuff like that that's invaluable. And the thing is, I would argue that's common sense, really, to look at what's going on and then make judgment calls based on that. But some people don't. They will just go, right, I want to go to this house, and this house, and I know where they are. And, you know, once I've done one house, I'm just going to make my way to the next one. And that's how they do it. But you're absolutely right. I mean, the only thing I look at when I do that is where that house is. So if there's 2 houses I want to do, one's a 20-minute wait, one's a 30-minute wait, but a 20-minute one is about 10 minutes away, you're not saving yourself. You know, you may as well just go to the nearest one. You're not saving yourself much time. But, yeah, always check, because we've walked past houses and it's said like, you know, 45 minutes. And then you check the app 5 minutes later and it's 25 minutes. So off you trot back to that house again, you know.
Giant user. So
what about you, Simon?
Yes,
a quick one. Best night we had, though, what would you say it was last year? And was it doing houses?
No.
Best night we had, we met a few
houses.
people and got drunk.
Yeah, we did 2 houses. That was straight away. Me and Phil did a house because Julie wasn't feeling too well. So me and you met up. We went to the house, came out, met a friend who I knew from another podcast network, from Neo's house, Matt, who does Catacombs, Halloween Horror Nights. I met up with him with a couple of his friends, had a few drinks. Then we went and did a house, and we looked at the app. 3 of us had Express, 2 didn't. And we looked at the clock. Everything was nearly 60 minutes. Back to Duff Gardens, a few more beers. And literally, I think we did 2 houses in the space of, 5 hours?
I actually think we got some of the best stories I've ever been told in my life, especially from that police officer out there.
Yeah. If
only you remembered them. If only you remembered them.
Oh, we can sort of remember them, but I don't think we should share them.
No, we definitely can't share some of those stories. Definitely. I'm not sure any of those stories.
But I think that's the thing. I mean, you obviously get a lot of people that are local that will get the pass for the season, right? So they can go to Halloween Horror Nights whenever they want. And the thing is, those guys don't go 3 or 4 times a week and do houses all the time. They will go for the food, they'll go for the ambience, they'll go to meet up with people, they'll go for drinks. I think sometimes that's the only thing. Like Craig sees the value, and I get why. I don't necessarily agree, but I get why. But or the value of, well, I'm here for like a few days. I want to do all these houses. They're only going to be here once, so I want to do them 2 or 3 times. Sometimes once enough for me. Like House of 1,000 Corpses, I did it twice, but because we did it twice, not because I could be asked to do it. We were just all together, so it made sense to do it. But there are houses some years I just like, one and done, fine. There'll be other houses that I might want to have done 3 or 4 times, and sometimes I don't have the time to. So it's that balance now. But if there's a year where I've kind of done the houses twice and I've still got, a night or so left, I'd rather just soak up the ambience. The last night we were there in 29, Craig, by about 10 o'clock, 10 o'clock, was knackered. Half the group was tired.
Was that the infamous night of Fast and Furious, the best ride ever?
Oh, the worst ride on the planet.
Exactly. There was the party. We turned into the party bus.
It was
The
probably
best
my
thing-
bus.
The best thing about Fast and Furious is they've changed that into a house for Halloween Horror Nights. That is the best thing about it.
But the thing is, so Craig was tired. He wanted to go home early. P-Dubs was tired. I had the option of going back or doing what I love to do best, which is spend time all on my own. And I just went around the park and I soaked up the ambience. I walked through the scare zones. I went and watched the nighttime spectacular again. But I did a bit of people watching, and I did a bit of just walking around scare zones and just kind of soaking it all in. And that was enough. There was no houses by that point I needed to do again, but I just enjoy the ambience of Halloween Horror Nights. I like watching people get scared. You said earlier about what was my favorite year of the 3 that I'd been to.
Yeah.
My favorite memory, or one of my favorite memories from those 3 years, was the first one. Well, we didn't do the houses because my wife was too scared, but the scare zone that year in the alley, I can't remember where the alley is now, but they had an alley where it was like they just had the chainsaw army hanging about.
It was Sting Alley.
Right.
In between.
Yes.
It's behind. It's where there used to be a house called Nazerman's, and if you walk through it, you can see a big sign saying Nazerman's. It's where the climbing wall is at the moment.
Yeah.
Opposite.
Yeah.
Behind
you're
Starbucks.
right.
Where Starbucks is, it's right behind that. That's Sting Alley.
Yeah. Yeah. And this was even before it was the Starbucks. But
Yeah.
so you could stand, if you could go and, stand just enough away from it that you weren't interacting, but you could see people walking through that alley, through the smoke, and just having someone with a chainsaw jump in front of them and screaming. And, normally the best screamers were the biggest, kind of like muscle bound Americans that were there that night, and seeing them just running off screaming like a little child. It was great. And we did that for about half an hour, just sat there, just people watching. And, that was great entertainment at other people's expense, but
That's fantastic. That's what I'm doing. Just soak it all up as much as you can. But Craig, did we get your favourite year of the 4 weekends you've done?
It probably
The last one, because he met me.
It'd be probably for houses quality. I think it'd be 25.
25 was a very good year.
I think it's probably the best year there's ever been. I think after there's been a big anniversary, the next one's always a bit of a wet fart.
Yes, I can vouch for that for last year.
And I might be talking absolute shit. I can only talk for the 4 that I've been to. Each one of them's are different. 25 was the year I bought the wrong ticket, and on the night we should have been in the parks, me and Stu were getting pissed, and we were in bed for 7 o'clock, and then when we turned up the next night, they wouldn't allow us in because we had the wrong ticket.
You did get it sorted, and you did get in anyway. So let Universal give them the credit. They actually did accommodate you.
No, blame them for everything.
No, they were. I mean, right, the first year, 23, is the famous year where I bent under the rope. We had a print off ticket, and print off tickets. Obviously, you're getting it in and out. It's humid. So we wanted to go and get a proper physical Universal ticket off them because they'd give you one if you showed them the printout. So it goes under at customer services and ripped me pants. Split, and me arse cheeks are just hanging out. And Universal, to the credit, not only give us the tickets, but give me, I want to say it was either $60 or $100 to go and buy a new pair of shorts.
And you were the only person who ever bought anything from that surf shop on City Walk.
Sky blue.
Oh, I miss that shop.
Sky
it was such
blue,
a great walk through.
Frap pants. It was, you know. But then there's different stories. Me and Stuart going back pissed on the back of the tricycle with the most beautiful arse I've ever seen in my life, pedaling like fuck. Two big fat cunts sitting on the back of the bike, pedaling us back to Cabana Bay. She made $50 that night, that girl.
Sorry, Craig, go on.
No, we had a whole monologue that was in the podcast episode that went out, which I had to edit out because it was just inappropriate.
Blimey, it must have been bad if you edited it out, knowing what you normally say.
But then the years go with Nick, you know, that first time with Nick, you'd been having a hard time. You needed that break. You needed that trip away. And it was just brilliant to be able to do it. And then the last time was the meetup and meeting, you know, obviously in 27, we met Simon, which just still burns me head out to this day. It's just fucking unbelievable.
And if you want to find out where I interrupted him, go listen to the Eagle episode.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted, the final one. It's actually cut short right as I interrupt.
Where you stalked them. Where you stalked them.
Unbelievable.
It wasn't. It literally just. It was. I was stood. I was sat 2 bleachers back.
Yeah.
And when it finished, stood up, and this mammoth guy just stood up in front of me. I'm like, he's tall. And then I heard his accent. I heard him talking.
He
and I'm like, that's got to be Craig.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm the only one on the podcast that's never got recognised in real life. Because even like P-Dubs has been recognised again by him talking, and someone's like, "Oh, I know that voice." And Craig's been recognised numerous times. I will talk in public, and no one knows who I am. Even at Disneyland Paris at Christmas, someone recognised Craig. We were having a conversation at the time, didn't know who I was. A top tip that I learned the hard way that night that I talked about when I was on my own, as I was leaving the park, I decided I wanted a Fat Tuesday because I like frozen cocktails and it was hot still. So I went and got one, and then I was prepared to drink it on the way back to Aventura, like taking that walk. You can't do that.
No.
You cannot leave City Walk with any alcohol.
No.
So I had to stand at the checkpoint for about 10 minutes talking to the guy, because it was obviously the problem with frozen drinks is you will get brain freeze if you down it too quickly. So I had to kind of like sip it as quick as I can, but not too fast before leaving. So that's a top tip. If you want to have a frozen cocktail, don't do it as you want to go back to your hotel. You're not.
Yeah, you can't take any form of liquid. Well, you can take soda.
You can take
water,
softs. It's
any
alcohol.
Opened alcohol beverage, cans, pints, whatever. You can't leave.
But the thing is, I also want to say as well, like, you know, both those weekends with Craig, like I said, like the first year I went, I had a particularly rough year, wasn't in a good place mentally. That it was the first time we'd gone away together. We'd seen each other, but it was the first time we'd done that. It was the first time Craig diagnosed me with something as well, which was funny. And it was, you know, it kind of. No, you didn't die. You gave me that. I said diagnosed me with something. The second year, other than the meetup, which it was great to meet you both. Well, I'd already met someone at that point, but you, Phil. But that's the point where I realized something really was wrong with me, because like my visual reaction to walking into that place and seeing people there that I knew were there to meet us was too much for me. And that was the first panic attack I had, which was quite fun. But I mean, that was a great weekend. Like the times that me and Craig have been, and I mean, like, we didn't even go together, did we? The last time, like I flew out with.
Yeah, you with Peter. Yeah, but we were still together, weren't we?
Oh no! But what I meant was not in the same way we had the.
We weren't seeing each other's bollocks on an hourly basis.
Yeah,
But I mean, the thing is, those trips have been some of the most fun weekends I've had because they've been mad. They've been completely insane in trying to cram so much into a short space of time, but it's been fun doing it. And you know, I would.
It's an excuse.
I would do it every year.
It's an excuse to get away, to have a laugh, and for people who want to go and do Halloween on nights but can't justify the cost of a 2-week holiday with the family. If you've got an accommodating wife and you've got a mate, or if you just want to do it on your own, which I was doing in 27 until I invited Nick along, it's just go and do it. Just go if you can afford it, and it's houses you want to go in. Just do it because you won't regret it in any way, shape, or form.
I think that is a perfect summary for this podcast. We've got you guys on to talk about the weekend, and you give us some fantastic stories, some horror stories as well. Won't go into them anymore. But it just shows it's what you want to make of that weekend. If you want to do it, go and do it. I've done it. I would recommend doing it.
Yeah.
But that's entirely everyone else's choice.
And I would do it like Craig said that he was going to do that year alone. Like I have already said to myself, if this year was, incredible, and I felt like I couldn't miss it, I know Craig wouldn't go, and I also know no one else that I would normally go with will go. So my option would be to go alone. Would I? Yeah, absolutely. But I would. But the thing is, that's not for everyone. Like if you are comfortable in your own company, then that's fine. And I am. But again, that's not an option for everyone. But at the same time, I know people that have done that and will just, bump into people there or start talking to people there because they're on their own and have made friends that they've then, gone back and done it with, in like later years. So, there's quite a nice atmosphere there if you want to get involved in it. But also, if you just want to be a loner, you can be a loner. You can play it as you want to.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I think we should come to a close of that one. So I'm going to thank you both fantastically, very, very much for coming on. And here's your little moment to shine.
Oh, hang on. We'll have to restart for another 30 minutes. They're going to plug all their podcast.
Well, here's the option. Here's the option for you. Whoever's got the list, go ahead.
Right, we'll see how many you can do in 5 minutes.
Oh, I mean, if you want it done quick, that Disney, that Universal, that Disneyland Paris podcast, the free podcast that we do.
Plug your movie one.
People listen to that.
I listen.
Yeah, I do. I listen to. Oh, this is amazing. I have one called Walking Movies, where it's just a man talking to himself with a microphone walking down the street. There is absolutely nothing strange about that. I get some very strange looks, but honestly, there's nothing weird about that. But no, I mean, yeah, we podcast about theme parks. We've done stuff with you guys before.
Everybody's got one. Hell hath no fury. A lot of them.
If you want to talk about, like, I was going to say, most of them don't exist anymore. But no, and I mean, the thing is, you guys do great work. You do a lot more video stuff than we do. Something I'd love to have got into, but just haven't made it work. But no, I mean, what I think's been nice in general is that both of you kind of listen to what we did. We both met you at different times, but you've met each other through that. And it's weird how I think the takeaway for me in everything that I record, regardless, is that you don't really think about who's listening or the impact that it might have.
Exactly.
The fact that, as weird as it sounds, but listening to stuff that we put out then allowed you guys to meet and then allowed you to create your own stuff. And it's nice to think that it's had a knock-on effect.
Yeah, I love all that.
Can I just say one quick podcast? What I love, just because there's a banter of one of your podcasts, what I love, and it's your daughter. Alice's Magical Journey. The way she answers you back, kills me.
Oh, I mean, there was we just recorded a Neuralysis Magical podcast this week, and it the problem is now trying to rein her in, because I am the co-host. Like, I don't want to be the host, I am the co-host, but trying to rein her in. And the problem is for her, unfortunately, is she is very much her father's daughter. We both have very similar autistic traits. I've got ADHD. She hasn't been diagnosed with ADHD, but I'm almost convinced, because of the way she deals with things, that she does. So it's a bit of an oil and water combination sometimes, but yeah, she really, as you say, Phil, gives as good as she gets with that, and she gets away with it because she's so cute doing it. So I give her a lot of rope that I wouldn't have given Craig if we were doing a podcast like that.
She comes across really intelligent as well. That's what I like when she gets into the books. Now, half the books she's reading, I couldn't read.
Yeah, that is not. So that's one of the few things she doesn't get from her dad. That is definitely from her mum's side. But yes, the intelligence comes from the mum's side. All the other issues, that's definitely from me. But no, thank you for sharing it out. It is a lot of fun to do. But yeah, if you want to hear an adult be schooled by a 9-year-old girl, then that is a good podcast to listen to. But
that should be the tagline. That should be the tagline.
It should. It doesn't have one. It should do. But no, I mean, keep up the good work that you guys do. I'm glad that this has kind of created its own community that's spun off into its own thing, and I think that's a lovely thing. And it's only a matter of time before because of the work that you guys do, you've created your own little spin-off podcast with other people that have met through listening to your stuff. So, keep it up.
Podcast babies.
And thank you for having us on.
Babies.
It's always a pleasure to be on.
It's only took you this one to start singing. It's only took you an hour, and you've only just started singing.
It's a good job that the call's almost finished. So it's all
I'll tell you what, though, let's end this here as per normal. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a like on there. All the podcast apps out there. Just give us a nice review for once. Be nice to us. And don't forget that K-Tams is shit.
Never forget. Never forget.
Always be Epic and Simon.
Stay spooky.